Wade, what happened to your leg? Doggies. There he is. I don't even see much of a skull. Oh, there's it on the other side.
Yeah, I can get up into the I walk free and strap that all up.
You know what? From this angle,
It
does look like you had it amputated.
I have no leg.
What happened?
When your foot moves like this, it's very painful.
What's over here?
That feels good.
I dare say. That's not as terrible as I normally do. Wait, what happened? Why are you wearing funny boots?
We went kayaking in a kind of remote area near Baolai.
Yeah, Baolai River.
That river was surprisingly powerful and yet also very shallow.
Basically, it's a lot of elevation change. There's no flat parts. They're not big drops either. It's not like there's 10-meter waterfalls, but it's just constantly flowing downward, and so the water's moving at a very fast pace.
After making it through a couple of kind of bigger drops, I ended up on one, caught the edge of the drop, and the water flipped me over. I immediately turned downstream and pointed my feet towards the incoming rocks. And so I saw them coming. I got my feet out the way that you're supposed to do it. I had them up above the water and tried to push off of the rocks as I was going by them. I think it was a combination of hitting the rock at the wrong place, wrong time, along with the water pressure moving me through this sluice, made me hit my foot at the wrong angle, wrong time. And I just felt it just kind of go bloop and just flop back because it was underwater when that happened. In my mind's eye, I just saw a floppy bone like Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, where his leg was just flopping all over the place. Instead of cursing, just went kind of ow, 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 pulled over and swam to the shore and told you that I had a broken leg.
Let me tell you from my perspective what happened. This is after we went down some really amazing rapids that were much bigger than this one. But this one just kind of all went into a hole, and it was very strong recirculating current. So it's very hard to get in there. I went into it with a little bit more speed, and so I was on the edge of it, and it almost flipped me twice, but I managed to get out of it. But I knew that it's a very easy place to flip, so I immediately pulled over to watch him in case he flipped. I didn't think he'd get injured, but if something fell, like the boat or the paddle, I would grab it. He did get caught in it and almost slipped a few times before finally turning over. He floated down and he went ow, 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 ow. And I waited there until I was sure that he could make it to the edge. And then I ran as fast as I could after the boat, which I didn't catch up to for several hundred meters, but I did catch the boat and grab it. I came back and on my way, I'm thinking like, fuck, I hope he didn't break his leg. In my memory, you didn't tell me you broke your leg until I came back. We flipped before and gone ow, ow, ow. I kind of dreaded something this time. And so when I came back, the first thing that Wade says to me is, I broken my leg. I think it was very specific, actually. Like, I broken my leg, I have a torsion fracture on my tibia or whatever.
I may have been watching too many doctor shows recently. There aren't a whole lot of things that you can do to your leg. I was pretty sure that I had a broken ankle. What worried me was that I had a spiral fracture of the tibia and fibula, which turned out to be exactly what I had. The back part of my tibia is broken off right where it connects to the ankle. There's a spiral fracture of my fibula. The fibula fracture, because it's a twist and pointy on both ends, if you put any pressure on that, it's just going to start mangling things in your leg, and you don't want it to mangle anything that's really important, like any of the main veins or arteries or stuff.
Yeah, so first let's watch this video. It's been 2 weeks now.
It has been almost exactly 2
Yeah,
weeks.
it's been 2 weeks. Wade has not seen this yet. We did right when we were wading in the river. We did watch it on the tiny GoPro screen, which you can't really see anything. And I apologize, we don't have anything before this on video because it wasn't filming, and I did have another camera that we actually lost. I was gonna go back and look for it. Let's take a look. This is adjusting the seat. Okay, so this is where we switch kayaks. Now you're. Oh, this is the really.
I only filmed one part, so this has got to be it.
Isn't this the beginning of a really good one though? No, or
No,
this.
no.
Oh.
I've only filmed this one part.
Oh, so this is. Oh, so actually, this place that we flipped, we did scout. So we always scout. We couldn't see around the bend, so we stopped. We looked. We scouted. We decided it was safe and went. And it turns out it wasn't that.
I mean, it was probably safe. And 9 times out of 10, if I did everything right. If I would have pushed off, I would have gone around that thing. But
yeah, I
think the combination of the power of the water hitting it just right with my foot, that's probably the reason why it happened.
I think you're just extremely unlucky. Like, it looks like an easy place to get bruises and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised by the severity of what happened. You got it just the right angle. Why is it showing up?
Okay.
So this is once I almost.
Right, moving around some rocks, moving over some rocks.
Yeah, you can see I stopped because I knew.
Threading through some rocks, and then it gets big. So here it's big, and you got to really pick your way through.
Yeah, now you're caught.
Here, now I'm caught. Yeah, I'm surfing, and I go over, and I turn immediately around.
You're doing everything right.
Broke my leg.
There it
There it was. Ow, broke my leg.
You went over that second round.
Yeah, that was where it happened. Broke my leg?
Oh yeah, so
wait. Go back one more time.
So yeah, I extended a paddle so you could grab it.
Uh-huh. There's the paddle.
There's the boat. There goes shellfish.
So there wasn't a whole lot of waiting around for me to see if I was okay.
No, I could say that you were out of there.
Yeah, I
wasn't saying if you were okay. I was saying if you were out of the river, if you could get out of the river. Yeah.
I got out of the river. I was safe on a rock, and I ended up staying there for about 4 hours, just dangling my leg in the water, which probably really helped because the water was cold and it was not a sunny day, so the whole area was cold, and that probably really saved against too much ballooning, too much inflammation.
I had to do that once. I was at the Qishan like the hot spring. It's like 100 degrees boiling out, and I accidentally stepped in it because I was an idiot.
Yes, I remember that.
And so I had to stick my foot in it for like an hour. And it helped. It really helped a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so basically I didn't move.
I'm curious if you start talking to yourself or if you're just sitting there.
No, I did end up turning it off, I think.
Sitting there with a broken leg, still thinking about saving battery. What a guy.
Well, I didn't figure that there was much. Oh, that's me looking at it. I'm looking at it just flopping around in the water.
It looks like you didn't like what you see and you just stick it right back in the river.
Uh-huh. So I did pull myself out and got to a kind of a comfortable place, and then when you came back, you made me a really nice, comfortable chair area so I could just keep my feet in the water and keep the swelling down. And then it was the long wait to get rescued and get out of there, which took way longer than I ever thought possible to happen.
Yeah, me too. If we had a helicopter, that would have,
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect weather. There is low cloud cover, and I guess low cloud cover is really bad for helos. But
I think the problem is low cloud cover in the mountains. So it's like we just think there's part, but there's actually a huge mountain sticking up out of those clouds.
Right.
And you know, it's just probably just a regulation. Like, you know, you're not allowed to fly when the cloud level is below a certain point.
Right. So after you get back from rescuing the boat, yeah, we're almost there. Just a couple more minutes of me going.
You're surprisingly quiet. I mean, I think most people watching this would have expected like fuck.
I mean, there was a fuck, and there was only one, but.
It's because you're a school teacher. You're probably used to having all sorts of bad things happen and then not cursing.
Yeah.
Look at your leg again.
Yeah, checking out my leg again.
Look at my sexy legs.
It's not good, and unfortunately, it was on my right leg, so that means I can't drive for several
that's
months.
right. It was on your left.
I
Wait.
can still drive
Why don't
around.
you get you like a Japanese import?
Ooh, I don't think that. Oh no, you still have to. Gas is still the right foot.
Oh, really? Even when the steering wheel's on the left side?
Yeah. Yes, I have driven in New Zealand.
I drove in Thailand. You know, yeah,
You just shift with your left hand. Everything else is the same.
Yeah.
The turn signals and the
and windshield wipers.
wipers.
Yeah. So every time I want to turn, I actually have to
turn on the windshield wipers.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man, that's some brutal stuff there with me climbing up and down that what seemed like a mountain to me, but was really only
no. It was a mountain. it was a mountain. They carried you up a little mountain. It's probably. You know,
I had to hop up there, and I was on my knees. I
you're
was
talking
crawling.
the small one.
That little small
The
one.
rocks. Yeah.
Rocks. I mean, I had to crawl up that on my knees and on one leg, and then we got to the top of that, and then I hopped around for, I don't know, 20 meters.
Yeah. So I should have.
And then just said no.
I should have known once you couldn't walk.
Because
you actually, you know, lying there very calmly, it's hard to sort of judge what's happening. Once you couldn't walk, sort of immediately, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's it.
I have a low pulse. I don't freak out very easily. I was doing my heart rate, and I told you I was becoming tachycardic at one point where my blood pressure was elevated. I thought I was going to go into shock, and I thought I was going to puke for a little while. And that only lasted about 2 minutes.
There's not that much video of it because it just wasn't the first priority to take a video. First, just make sure everybody's safe, and also spend a lot of time calling the rescue crew, and also had to keep the phone open for the rescue crews. So just sort of explain what happened, what we did right, and what we did wrong. The first thing, I guess, what we did right is immediately make sure that he's out of immediate danger. That was just basically me waiting by the river to make sure that he's not continuing to float down the river. He made it to the side. Check on your people before you check on your stuff. And then rescue the raft. We got phones out once we sort of established that he's not walking out of there, which was very quickly. Called for a rescue. So just immediately called for rescue. There we do have signal with my phone. His phone didn't have signal because of his carrier. So even if he did EEGO, it should pick up another carrier. It goes on to the emergency services. But if you're in an area with no signal at all, or very, very weak signal, you can call. But we were able to call them. We talked with them with my first time calling. So it's actually kind of an interesting experience for me. They actually repeat things in English. So when you call, it's like, I guess they ask if it's a police emergency or a rescue emergency. So you just rescue, which I don't remember the number. It was either 9 or 2, but one of the numbers. Yeah, just immediately just tell them. Fortunately, I was able to tell them very clearly exactly where we were and what had happened. And so they sent a ground crew. But of course, actually, exactly where we were is not that clear. I'm in a river a kilometer down from the hot spring. There's only that one road access. To confirm the location, because we did have internet there, they sent a text message to my phone with a link on it. You click open the link, it loads your GPS, and then it sends the GPS to the dispatcher. But one thing I will say is that there doesn't seem to be as much communication as there should be from the ground crew and the dispatcher, because I talk to the ground crew and they'd be asking me where I am, and then I talk to the dispatcher and they'd be asking me where I am, and it seemed like I was repeating it a lot. Maybe that's done on purpose to make sure that it's done the exact same thing, but they found us and it took
almost 3 hours for them to get there, right?
Yeah, it took almost 3 hours. That's kind of normal actually for a wilderness rescue. It does take a long time. I wouldn't say that's abnormally slow just from a statistical standpoint. If you're in the high mountains, it would take several days. You know, from where we were, it's an hour drive and an hour walk. It doesn't include getting, you know, things ready and all that stuff. So, but yeah, they arrived. And then the second crew had a lot of difficulty getting down the mountain. They were coming down a trail which existed a few years ago, and now
basically doesn't exist.
Yeah, they were cutting through the forest with machetes. Really, he needed a helicopter because of low cloud cover. They wouldn't fly, so we had to carry him out. It's about 200 meters maybe to the point where a car can reach us. I'm talking about elevation gain, not distance. So they had to carry him out, and he's very heavy. He's not a small guy.
Yeah, so they had to bring 9 extra people, and it seemed like it took them forever to get down that trail. And then they put me onto this sled, which they called the PPE, or
I forget it's like EKE,
something,
ECK, something like that.
So there were a couple of pieces of metal running down the spine of it, but basically it was really thin plastic. They had 3 people on each side, and then 1 person in the front and 1 person in the back.
So you didn't see this. It was quite an operation. So the maximum that could carry it in a flat ground is 3 people. It became less when you're like on a vertical thing,
right.
Just because the people can't have purchase and stand with. So there's a total of 12 people, I think. 6 were carrying. You'd have people in sort of like the front and the back with lights. When we were on the flat area, there'd be people walking forward to sort of scout the road because it's not a straightforward way to go. You need to try to find the easiest way to carry a person on. And then once we sort of got into the forest and up the hill, then it became much more complicated. So you had 3 people holding you, a person in the back kind of pushing, rope that was tied to the gurney, and you had like 3 people pulling it. Mm-hmm. And then you had the other 2 or 3 people up in the front, and they would go with the machetes and cut the grass and any sticks or rocks that were in the way, they'd pick up and throw out. Basically clearing a path for you. I'm sure it felt like you were hitting every single like bump and rock.
Oh, I hit every single one of them.
Yeah, so you did hit every single one that was there, but there were fewer there because people were like picking up sticks and throwing them out of the way. It was quite an interesting operation. I've never seen anything like that. It was quite cool. It seemed like everybody had a job to do and knew where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to be doing.
No, they were very well organized. You know, they were fantastic for having to haul me up a mountain with basically no trail, no road. They did an amazing job. And you know, going from the river to that mountain trail, that was probably the worst part because it was just over these big rocks, big boulders, and they were just pulling me over. Sometimes they would lose their balance and fall on top of me.
It's really difficult. I remember we used to carry the raft.
Oh yeah, right.
Which is a third of the weight of you.
Right.
And the people in the front can walk, but the people in the back, they can't see their feet because the raft's in the way, and it's like all the rocks. So the people in the back would always trip, and that was 38 kg, not 105.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't any fun for those guys. I really feel bad for that.
Thank you.
And then there was somehow another river that they dragged me through.
Okay, so I can see from your perspective where you're just flying up and.
I mean, I got soaking wet.
So what happened was it was shallow water about this deep, but it was soft sand. So basically, they stepped into it and they just sunk.
Because they just set me down in the water, and then the water just started seeping in.
Yeah, because they all sunk. They just basically just stepped in and just sunk right into the dirt.
And then I got heavier because I was completely soaked with water.
Well, it was actually just to lift it out of the water while you were in it.
Oh yeah, because there was suction, right?
There's suction and it's heavy. Yeah.
Also heavier, so
yeah,
that wasn't fun. And then we got to the.
I think that also you probably felt the bumps a bit more because that gurney, you're like the maximum height that could possibly fit in that. If you were 2 inches taller, you wouldn't work.
I had a helmet on. I had my my PFD on, my life vest on, and then I had I think 1 shoe on, and then my broken leg was just kind of bouncing along, and it was right at the end of the
Yeah,
basket.
it was pressed up against the plastic because
There was nowhere else for it to go.
I guess there's not that many 190 plus centimeter people that need rescue.
The whole thing was uncomfortable, and it took 2.5 hours to get from the boat to a car. And it was really 2.5 hours of not a lot of fun for me.
I mean, it wasn't fun for anybody, but that was the least. It was the least amount of fun for Wade. So let me tell you sort of like the things that we did wrong. Okay, so the first thing we did wrong is that we didn't carry a first aid kit with us. So in my car, and something I normally take on every trip, I carry my first aid bag with me. And in the first aid bag, I have a flashlight. I have like a headlamp, batteries, a thermal blanket. I would also have things like Band-Aids, normal saline, some moderate painkillers like acetaminophen or ibuprofen, something like that.
Yeah, I had to go 9.5 hours without even taking any kind of painkillers whatsoever.
Yeah, so that would have been nice to have that. It might have helped a little bit with the swelling too. But generally, my first aid kit is set up for dealing with cuts, scrapes, and burns. It's not much I can do for a broken bone, but still, it should have been there. I should have, especially if you had to spend the night in there. That's when things like the headlamp and the thermal blanket would have really come in handy.
Because that was also an option, staying overnight.
Yeah, and getting helicopter in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the first thing is, always have your first aid kit with you. It's something I almost always have with me, and just that time I was like, we're just doing a short trip down the river, we won't need it. And then that's the one time we actually do need it. That's, I think, the lesson there. And then the second thing that, what I did wrong is that I wasn't completely honest with the rescuers. So when the rescuers came, instead of telling them that we were in the raft when it happened, I told them that it happened during the fall. The reason I said that is because I was really worried about media. I have a very low opinion on the media, and they really latch onto stories like this. When kind of I first started doing this, once I had a run-in with the media where they just sort of completely made up a false story about me relating to installing kind of like a rope bridge at the Elephant Trunks Rock in Keelung, or maybe it's New Taipei City. Yeah, they just sort of ran with the story, did a lot of false things. They printed false subtitles under things that I was saying, and I ended up getting a lot of hate from that. They retracted the story, like they called me, apologized, retracted the story and all that stuff. But still, that media was copied by so many other places. Also, like there was a guy who broke his leg up in Hualien, and the media ran a story on him saying that he was bad-mouthing the rescuers, which didn't happen, but he had like so much hate from that, and they just have these stories which they get out in like 20 minutes. They only have like a 20-minute window to publish their story, and they don't care about facts, they don't care about things. So I was worried there'd be media waiting for us at the top, which is why I tried to make the story as simple and as uninteresting as possible. But the issue with that is that rescuers sort of need that information to make accurate diagnoses. Really,
I mean, ankle breaks, and spiral fractures can happen easily from walking on those kinds of rocks.
And actually, a month before, I had a friend who was walking those kind of rocks, and he slipped and fell, and he broke his hand, his wrist, and tore not sprain, complete tear in the ligament here.
Ow.
Yeah, he's actually going to be out for more than a year.
Wow.
Yeah, the bones have more blood flow than ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, your broken bone is taking months, and his torn ligament's taking a year. Anyway, so injuries can happen. I didn't want to be part of a big media sensation, so actually I do apologize to the rescuers for not being forthright with you guys. The reason I did that is because I didn't want to make it a big media story, but the reason that I am now telling the entire story is because I think it's really important. And I think that, when accidents happen, it's really important to talk about it. Maybe not in, the media setting where, they just sort of spout random stuff for the first 20 minutes without actually knowing what happened. But I think that in terms of like making the sport safer and making the sport progress for just any outdoor things, I think that it's really important to talk about accidents, how to avoid them, and also sort of what to do when they happen.
I mean, accidents can happen at any point when you're outside, at any point when you're inside. I think most accidents in the home happen in the bathroom.
So that's my biggest fear. Seriously, my biggest fear, and I'm sure this is like the way I'm probably going to go out, is Like, I don't know why they do it in Taiwan, but they use this like marble tile, which is
Oh yeah,
so,
we got it right here. This is
it's
so
a
slick.
death trap. My biggest fear is stepping out of the shower, like slipping backwards and hitting my head on like a sink or a toilet or something, and just like lying there for 2 days, and then that's it. Yeah, anyway, we're getting a little off topic here, but the 4 accidents specifically relating to this accident, Wade really did everything right. So when you flip out of the boat, you want to lie on your back. You want to put your feet forward. You want any impact to impact your feet. So it would have been much worse, I guess, if it impacted his shoulder or his head or something like that. Normally, you
were
bounce.
wearing proper gear, right? We both had helmets on.
We
I
had helmets, life jackets.
I had proper shoes. I had really good, strong sandals on.
And also your experience kayaking.
Right.
And I think this is also important to note because, a lot of times, people will, say, okay, you're inexperienced, or you're not wearing the right equipment, all that stuff. If you do these things, you won't have an accident. Well, I mean, Wade has a lot of experience. He's more experienced than I am. He actually taught me how to kayak. He's my kayaking teacher.
We talked about this on the channel before, but I was a whitewater rafting guide for 8 years in Colorado. I was also an instructor. I led, I don't know, probably 100 people, taught 100 people how to be kayaking guides and whitewater raft guides.
In that time, have you ever had a similar situation, broken bone or?
I mean, I've had people fall out of rafts before, and I've been in rafts that have flipped. I've had to do 1 or 2 rescues. The rivers that we did mostly were wider and deeper.
They have 1,000 times the amount of water. This is actually something that's kind of not always intuitive, but sometimes the more water is safer than less water, because when it's deeper, you don't hit rocks, provided that you have a safe avenue which you can just keep going down, right?
So you can do all of the right things and still have a bad outcome, and that is what happened here. I flipped out of the boat. I immediately turned around. I immediately got my feet up and started riding the current down, and just bad luck, whatever, hit that rock at a place where it just cranked my ankle and cranked my leg.
That's
in a bad way.
I just want to get this on record because it's not on film, but the rapid before what we did was probably about 200 meters long and probably had an elevation change of like 30 meters or something, just like, going down. I had the best run I've ever had in my life. That was one of the largest rapids I've ever run in a kayak, class 4 going through it straight, and I hit it so perfect. I hit it so perfectly. It's not on camera because the camera fell into
one of those rapids. And it was just meter drops. It was just meter drop, meter drop, meter drop, meter drop.
And also it wasn't all straight. You have to go like meter drop, meter drop, meter drop.
Oh yeah.
You have to do like that. And it was so fast and it was so fun. And
it was a lot of fun.
And then Wade went and ruined it. So I mean, jeez. Can't go anywhere nice.
What can I say?
You ever gonna go kayaking again?
Oh yeah, I'll be kayaking again, no problem. Those boats are so much fun. They are super maneuverable. They put you in a good position. You're deep enough down into there that you really have a good base, good nice low center of gravity, and they're so much fun. And so I will definitely be back kayaking. I did have accidents, and let's see, I didn't really hurt myself bad when I was in Colorado, but this is a broken leg. I've expected for a long time that I would actually break some kind of bones.
Yeah, usually the thing I worry about most when I go out is actually broken leg, because if you break an arm, you can still get out by yourself. Once you have a leg injury, and even a bad sprain, like if you can't walk, that's when you need a rescue. And this is entirely because of the media and the way that it handles sort of accidents out here. But basically, if you are in a position you cannot walk, then you should call for a rescue. That's like the appropriate time to do it.
I definitely could not walk. I couldn't put any weight whatsoever on.
Oh yeah. Nobody questions, after seeing the x-ray, nobody questions that at all. People are more questioning why you're not like sitting there crying and spouting curse words. We just didn't film it. I showed the x-ray to the rescuers. They're very, very surprised. And I think one of the reasons that they're surprised is because when they show up, Wade's chilling there on a rock like this, just sort of hanging out, and we're like joking around and saying, "Hey, it's my friend. He can't walk."
And there was really no bad discoloration. My inside ankle was definitely discolored.
This kind of goes against everything I know about brakes and everything people told me about brakes, like growing up, because I've actually never breaking bone. But I always heard that the way you tell if it's broken or not is you try to move it. And if you can move it, it's not broken.
And I could wiggle my toes, and I could even rotate my ankle.
Yeah, so that to me, that blows my mind.
I did tell you early on that was not true, though. At some point during the day, I said, just, being able to wiggle your toes or wiggle your fingers doesn't mean that it's not broken. It can still be broken, and you can still do that. I couldn't feel any place where there was a broken bone, but behind here, the rear part of my tibia is broken off.
That's with the 3 screws.
Right, so there's 3 screws, 1, 2, 3, holding that in, and then on my fibula, which had a spiral fracture or torsion fracture, there is a titanium plate with 10 screws in it.
$6 million man.
Holding it together. I talked to my doctor today about what is going to happen in 2 months. So he's always been saying in 2 months, we're going to take out the 3 screws in your ankle, and then you're going to be able to walk. And I was talking about, okay, how many months am I going to be in a walking boot, in an air boot? And he said basically today, no, why people need that is that their doctors don't put enough screws in their bones to heal it up properly and to have enough support for those bones. And so he said, with that big titanium plate and 10 screws holding your fibula together, that I should be able to walk mostly normally after 2 months.
So this is much faster than I would expect people to recover. I guess if you have a faster recovery period, it also means you need less physical therapy because you have less atrophy in the muscles.
Right, so I'm getting atrophy in my calf muscles, but I'm not getting a whole lot of atrophy in my thigh muscles because I'm on this all the time. And so I rest my knee
You're still using your upper leg.
on this, yeah, and so this is strapped to my thigh. So I'm getting full range of motion, and
I guess it probably increases blood flow down there too.
increases blood flow, and also I'm getting, putting all of my weight on it.
That's amazing. I'm so impressed with
Yeah,
I'm so impressed with your body weight.
I think it's super cool.
It's a machine. In the video, I think what's not captured is after he went into the ambulance, he went to Qishan Hospital, where they diagnosed him in the emergency room. It was about midnight when he got there.
And then I went here.
Yeah, then he came home and spent the night in his own bed, which was probably pretty nice. And the next day went to Pingtung Hospital, got surgery, and spent 2 nights in the hospital.
Yeah, 2 nights in the hospital. I was out on Tuesday.
Yeah.
At noon on Tuesday. Really, the healthcare here is amazing. I didn't wait very long when I was in the first hospital at Qishan, and then going to Pingtung Hospital. They saw me, saw the X-rays. We bought a DVD of all of the X-rays and stuff, and gave it to them. And they said, "Okay, yep." I saw the doctor. He said, "Yeah, I'm not worried about this. I do this kind of surgery all the time."
We meet idiots like you every day.
He said, "You'll be out of here on Tuesday." And the doctors at Qishan had said, "Oh yeah, you'd probably be in the hospital for 5 days," which, does not appeal to me very much.
I think that they prefer to start with something like that and then go down. Oh, but also that's because you talk to the ER doctors, not the surgeon.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so those are the ER doctors who don't perform the surgery, but then you actually talk to the surgeon, and they give you a more clear thing. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the rescuers. I know you guys are amazing. No one wants to pull my fat ass out of, up a mountain. You definitely don't want to do it twice, so I'm going to be very careful from now on. The doctors, the nurses, everybody at Qishan Hospital and everybody at Pingtung Hospital, so great. They would come in on their changing shifts, and one nurse would introduce the other nurse, and then I don't know, 6 hours later, 8 hours later, they would come in and do it again and keep feeding me some painkillers, which is always nice.
So actually, one thing we were all worried about, because we sent you to in the ambulance by yourself, and you didn't even have a health card. He has health insurance, he just didn't have his card with him. We were worried that it would be difficult checking into the ER, but it sounds like they just did it.
Yeah, I just did. I had a picture of my health card.
Oh, you had a photo of your health card. Oh, so you just showed them the photo, and then they took all of it.
Yeah.
So I've only been to the ER twice in Taiwan. The first time is I needed some stitches here. I jumped into a waterfall, and after like 10 times jumping, I hit my head on something. I just drove myself to the hospital in a scooter. It was like 2 hours away. And then the second time is when I was doing the jet skiing with Alan. He's basically the same size as you. And we were on the jet ski, and we flew off the jet, like the banana boat. We did this on purpose. We wanted to fly off, and we asked the guy to throw us off. Alan landed on my ribs. He just took the X-ray and some blood tests to see if I had any internal thing, but it was just a chest contusion. But that hurt for more than 2 months. That was about 3 months.
Because there's nothing you can do about broken ribs.
No, but it wasn't broken rib.
It wasn't a broken rib.
No, it was just
bruised.
It was just bruising muscles and just bruises. So it's amazing to me that you can break your leg in like 4 places, need surgery, and
it's only 2 places.
I was just glad it wasn't poking out. When I came back I was just worried that
Oh,
it
me
was
too.
poking out.
Yeah, really glad that it wasn't poking out, because it definitely could have been poking out. In my mind's eye, it was poking out.
I was worried that I'd have to run down the river and try to catch your 7th thing.
But I do have a nice scar there where they opened it up to stick in the titanium plate.
The upgrades.
Yeah, the upgrades.
While the surgeons were doing that, I also asked them to put in a little tracking device so that next time he breaks his leg out in nature, he doesn't do all this back and forth with the rescuers. And just,
nice.
We got him on that satellite. Yeah.
Just beep.
Yeah.
Turn it on. And apparently they're going to take the titanium out in a year.
Also the screws or just that plate?
The plate and the screws. So in 2 months, they take out the 3 screws in the ankle. And then they said after a year, they're going to take out the plate and the 10 screws. The doctor worries that when I become an old man, that my bones will become brittle on the other sides of that titanium plate. I'm not going to break anything on the titanium plate, but I could break it at either side of that titanium plate. I have watched a lot of videos that say doctors never take that stuff out, never take the hardware out.
Yeah, I thought they didn't want to take it out because they just don't want to risk another surgery, but it sounds like he does this a lot.
You can feel it. You
Yeah.
can just kind of put your...
Does it hurt? Does it hurt like
No, not at all. If you kind of run your finger over there, like...
Oh yeah, there's like a little something there.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Huh. Alright, so anyway, we're going to end the video there. Thanks so much to the Baolai Fire Department. You guys rock. And also the doctors at Qishan and the whole staff at Qishan and Pingtung Hospital. And for anybody, if you want to go out and break your leg, the place to do it is right here in the south, because that's where you get great care. So
amazing.
Yeah, we're going to give a 5-star Yelp review for surgery at Pingtung Hospital. Go.
Ow. Grab my leg. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh. Oh.